Hello, Scorpio. Welcome to your end of June 2025 General Tarot Update. It's Raina here. That's a card I associate with Scorpio. Very interesting. You got two marriage cards and some cards that are, suggesting otherwise. The heart of the matter is the Eight of Cups. If you look at this deck, this particular depiction of the Eight of Cups, you see this woman and she's got a backpack and it's implying some sort of journey. The Eight of Cups is about leaving what no longer serves you. Cups relate to water, and water is about emotions. For a sign like Scorpio in particular, if something doesn't really move you or grab you, that's going to be the kiss of death for you, really, because you're very emotionally driven. And if something doesn't feel resonant anymore, the chances of you sticking with it. Now, I'm not saying that you wouldn't kind of remain, because you're a fixed sign, so you may have that tendency to kind of stick with what you know. But I think eventually it gets to the point where the person realizes this isn't going anywhere, and I'm not being fulfilled by this, and neither is that other person. And there's a spiritual component to this. It's not just about, oh, I'm tired of this relationship. It's about maybe feeling this pull that you need to be doing something else in your life. It's not just about one person versus another, in other words. But what is it that's really, calling to you? In the past position is the Ten of Swords. This deck is very faithful to Rider-Waite. Sometimes you have to blink to see that it's not the same deck. But this deck I think is mostly women. I think this is called Witch's Tarot or something like that. But the thing that there are a few cards that are pretty whimsical, like this, in a quirky kind of a way. Like, for instance, this, Ten of Swords, she's sitting there, she's looking at her phone as all of those swords are in her. So I don't know if they're trying to say that she's kind of indifferent to her own betrayal or not. But anyway, that's what the Ten of Swords means, is betrayal. But there's also a connotation with the Ten of Swords that it's the end of a negative cycle. Like, that has closed down. Maybe you've been through a rough patch in your life, and now that's over with, and so it's making you think about the future. Hence the Eight of Cups. Where do I want to be going? And I notice we have several cards here that are cups. So, as I'm recording this is in Cancer season. So that makes a lot of sense, because that's a fellow water sign, and it's all about the emotions. The higher message is the Seven of Cups, and it's really about making choices, but not on the basis of the exterior, because sometimes, in this particular, it's showing there's a snake coming out of one of those cups, a rose. The outside may look like a cup, but there are different things inside of it. And when we make choices, if we're just focused on the exterior, we can really make a bad choice. So Same thing goes for people. Somebody who's really good looking may have a great exterior, but it turns out that it doesn't match, their beautiful image isn't matched by their personality. What crosses you is the Three of Swords. This is a card of rejection. And also a card of cutting things off decisively. So it's possible that, with the Eight of Cups, this is somebody walking away from something. Maybe you've walked away before from a relationship and only to get back together, and so it hasn't been a clean break. And this could be, shown here with the Three of Swords in the challenge position, that you may find it hard just to kind of break it off for good. And the Seven of Cups can also be a card of indecisiveness or indecision, as well as confusion, wishful thinking. So sometimes a person wants to leave, or maybe they realize with the Ten of Swords that's the straw that broke the camel's back, something that happened within that relationship, but they're still reluctant to really call it quits. And of course, that means that you can't progress in those things that maybe you've wanted to do, because you've, you're still stagnant in terms of allowing a relationship to just keep running down the clock when it's really not serving you or the other party. What's coming in is the Ten of Cups. This is a card of the pot at the end of the rainbow, happily ever after, and family harmony. This is the card. We've got two cards here. There are tens, and 10 is the end of a cycle. So in some cases, it sounds like maybe you will stay in that situation thinking of your family. And also, I would say, I do believe that with the Eight of Cups, you can be on a spiritual quest, and it doesn't mean you have to cut people out of your life. There might be times when that's completely warranted, and that will be better for you, but it doesn't mean you have to, just because you're trying to improve your life. Perhaps by leaving a relationship, you will see improvements in your family life. That's another interpretation. The outcome is the Hierophant. This is a card of the spirit, or the spiritual side of life. Now, it is a card of convention, of conformity, and of marriage, but it could be saying that you're recognizing that a lot of the reluctance that you had was due to that type of conditioning, that it wasn't necessarily coming from you and your true feelings. So that's a possibility. I would say for anybody who feels like they are on some kind of a quest, a spiritual quest, I think with the Hierophant, it's also respecting traditions. Sometimes people go into New Age studies, and yet maybe their path is actually some sort of organized religion that they have not explored. Maybe it's not the one that they grew up with, but it's some other one. So realize that might work out better for you in some cases than the esoteric path. Okay, that's what I have for you, Scorpio. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.